All right, sir, you're welcome to the discussion segment of the program. This was the edition of Newdawn with Charity James and Akim Aketunde. Today, focus is going to be on the media as far as the fight against COVID-19, the pandemic, is concerned. What should be the role of the media? What has been the role of the media? And then, of course, have the media been adequately taken care of as far as everybody? Are they part of the frontliners too when it comes to the fight against COVID-19? I have two wonderful guests in the house. We have first, very close to Charity, the director of State Director of the National Orientation Agency in Nigeria, Ogun State Director is here, Mr. Shola Babalola. Mr. Babalola, once again, you're welcome to OGTV.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
And of course, we also have the president of the FIBAN, that is a Federation of Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria, the national president, second-term president, Desmond Nwachukwu, is also here with us. Desmond, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you again on this show too.
Welcome to the studio, gentlemen. We are looking at the role of media in global pandemic, and we want to look at what the media has been able to do since we got the news of COVID-19 ravaging the world. Right now, I want to ask you, Mr. Shola Babalola, you've been in the caucus of disseminating information. Can you tell us what the media has been able to do over the months?
Thank you. Seriously speaking, because my own job is not seen, is not known without the media, and because it is the existence of the media that gives my own job popularity, that gives my own job, that tells the whole world that I'm doing something. To me, the media has done fantastically well. Anyway, just like I was saying in the case of orientation and mobilization, the assignment is not a conclusive assignment. The job is not, the media is not adjourned to have concluded the assignment once we still have the pandemic in our midst. So there is still much to be done. But having said this, I think they have done fine.
Okay, the FIBAN president, we know that you are always on the set talking about the people, talking about what is happening in the society. How do you judge the media, especially in Nigeria?
As it relates to the fight against COVID-19?
Yes.
Well, exceptionally, the media has done extremely well in the fight against COVID-19, and it will not be out of place to place the media among the frontliners when you talk about the fight against COVID-19. If you look at it, I'll begin by saying that until you understand what you're fighting, you may not be able to know the approach and the approach to adopt. From December the 31st of 2019, when World Health Organization actually made the first pronouncement about this pandemic, up and until this moment, you see the trend in terms of awareness, in terms of understanding the pandemic, in terms of knowing what to do. At first, people had little or no information about COVID-19. It's the media that actually brought it to the consciousness of the people. If you observe as well, at the beginning of this fight against COVID-19, there was a time you will get to places and they offer you sanitizer and you walk away. You say, look, you don't want to use it. But right now, when people get there, they're the first to ask for it. And you also agree with me that there are a whole lot of insinuations, myths kind of surrounding the fight against COVID-19. At some point in time, it was described as an ailment for the rich. It was the media who made everybody to know that it's not limited to the rich alone. It cuts across. If you look at it generally in terms of understanding the the pandemic, understanding, making the people know what the medical practitioners are doing. It's again the responsibility of the media. If the media is taken out of it, there's no, I can tell you for free that the health facilities, the health workers will be overwhelmed. But because the media has been on top of its game, educating people, enlightening people, going all out to ensure that they have every information they need as regards this COVID-19, the awareness became much more, and so people get to know more about this COVID-19, and then the way to avoid it. You know, the precautions. People began to understand the precautions, and that ultimately helped the health workers, because the people who fall victim, you know, automatically reduced. So if you look at it generally, and without being immodest, the media indeed has done exceptionally well in the fight against COVID-19.
All right, let me quickly say FIBAN is freelance and independent broadcasters Association of Nigeria, and the national president is Desmond Nwachukwu. Let me go to Mr. Babalola. Yes, it's no more a fallacy that the whole world is at war. That's the situation when it comes to this pandemic, COVID-19. Yes, if you look at the medical people, the way they are actually being prepared or protected to face the war, and so do you think, looking at the number of casualties too that have actually happened in the media, do you think the media is well projected and protected for this war, for the media to continue to disseminate necessary information? Because whether you like it or not, despite the everyday packages of the media, there are still a whole lot of people that still think it is a myth, it's not realistic, there's nothing like COVID-19. Do you think the media is well prepared or well protected or well provided for to actually be part of this war?
Thank you. You see, like I kept on saying, you are facing a war. And of course, the war is global. And the war is not sectional. The war is everybody, every sector of the society is confronted with the war. And as such, there is no limit to the extent of preparation you are supposed to make. You are to employ as many strategies, preparatory plans as possible. So, to your question, there is still much to be done for the media to at least carry the responsibility. We are talking of awareness creation. We are talking of information. We are talking of even educating those that are actually at the center of it. We are talking of even projecting what the highest level of committee fighting COVID-19 needs the media. Everybody needs the media. NOA needs the media. The media has to be at the center of everything. Before you can project what we are doing this morning, some people have gone out, collect news, cover events and activities. They are equally exposed. And as such, I would want to say that the media, much still have to be done for the media to empower them, to equip them, and to get them ready for the task ahead. Because this war, we don't know the end of the war, and the war is, the cases are rising on a daily basis. And as such, I agree with you, and I'm going to have the position that the media, of course, should be encouraged, should be empowered. Yes, the government is trying. The government is trying. I can see, judging from the OGTV, things have changed, but there's much to be done since the fight is not relenting. This is my submission, and in every areas, even whatever they do to medical people, the media too deserves it. We agree that they are directly exposed, but you are equally exposed because you have to cover events that exposes you. You don't even know who is positive. Anyway, so the media should be empowered. More should be done. Yes, the government is trying. The government is doing what it can do for the media, but there is still much to be done. Since that segment of the society, we all rely on them to project whatever is happening.
Okay, Mr. Wachuku, I know that a few occasions, some stations, both electronic, mostly radio or TV, have brought survivors of COVID-19 to the studio to actually share from an experience. And of course, despite this, I know that why some people are skeptical outside there, what they normally say is that, well, we only hear this information. We hear the scoreline every day. That's how they put the NCDC everyday reports on the number of COVID-19 cases, that the actualities. And of course, to some extent, you want to actually agree with them that maybe one or two occasions we've had in-depth special reports of isolation centers being carried out by media men. I mean, maybe supported by NCDC, supported by, for example, in Ogun State, people will say, you have various isolation centers. Have you been there as television stations to actually do a kind of close report that will make people see it? Now, what should be done now in this area from the major stakeholders to government to actually empower this media to do more reports that will bring in more or let people see more actualities of this? Do you think it is necessary?
First, let me say very quickly that people should stop drawing some form of comparison between Nigeria and the Western world.
Yeah, sure.
A whole lot of things are different, from orientation to the approach to things, and a whole lot. First, I'll give you an instance. One major challenge we have with the issue of COVID-19 is stigmatization. If you tell people, if you get to know that somebody is positive, even when they tell you that that person has again tested negative, you will probably be having the same kind of orientation that we had when the issue of AIDS and HIV first came out, that you dare not sit with the person, you don't have to eat with the person and all of that. It's a major challenge. So when people say people should go to isolation centers and take shots and what have you, I look at it from two angles. First, the challenge of stigmatization on the side of the victim. When he gets out of there, will the society still want to relate with him? Will they understand that this thing is not a death sentence? That's the challenge. The second challenge is, as it stands today, telling any Nigerian journalist to go into isolation center and take shots is like saying he should do, it's like a suicidal mission. Why did I say that? That would take me back to the question you asked the director earlier, and talking about whether the media have been provided for well or not. I would say that in that instance, like you said, government may have done reasonably fairly well by way of providing, building isolation centers. Take Ogun, for instance, purchasing of some gadgets, facilities, and all of that. But beyond that, talking about the plight, the interests of the media, in Nigeria, they have done very poorly. Now, if you want somebody to go into an isolation center as a media practitioner, where is the PPE for such person to go in there? Is there any insurance for an average journalist, media practitioner in Nigeria today fighting the cost of COVID-19? Judging from the number of our colleagues who have paid the supreme price in the cost of fighting COVID-19, you see that there's still a whole lot to be done for us. If you also move on, as at the moment, we all know that the challenge of COVID-19 has affected the economy globally. And stations, they say he that wears the shoe knows where it pinches. I am fortunate to be holding strategic position in the media industry in Nigeria at the moment. And I know I interact very closely every day, every now and then, with media owners across the country. And I can tell you that every station, OGTV inclusive, is struggling to survive, because if you look at it, those who bring commercials, those who support you, their business are not flying right now. And so, because they are not flying, it will affect the income of the station. And survival becomes of the fittest. One would have expected that these media organizations, take OGTV for instance, that the government, whatever the subvention the government was giving to OGTV before now, should have been increased, understanding the fact that this station needs to keep people informed 24/7, understanding the fact that the income of this station has dropped seriously. So if you look at all of this, I can go on and on, but if you look at all of this in totality, I would say that it is going to be near impossible. For instance, if I have to go, if I tell my wife at home, for crying out loud, that, okay, I'm going to one of the isolation centers to do an exclusive report on it, the first thing she will do is to remind me that I have children to take care of, and I have people who depend on me, to survive. She will remind me of the number of those who are depending on me, right? And then she will also tell me that she's pretty young to become, a widow. So, because that is a clear case of you facing death one-on-one. I can even, if you move it, if you look at it, even those medical practitioners who are experts in medical issues, in fighting all of this, are still falling victim. How much more we? I'll ask you, how many times, have we heard of people, government, bringing journalists together to say, oh, okay, let's bring experts to teach you, to educate you, to enlighten you on how to report this, how to cover it? What an average Nigerian media practitioner do is to struggle out of nothing to get something done. It doesn't work like that elsewhere. So, put all of this together, I tell you very frankly, I, as a person, right, I wouldn't know about Akim. Akim is much older. And so, so I wouldn't know about you. But for me, I will not do an exclusive, I will not go into an isolation center to get anything recorded, because I have not been taken care of. Members of my association, it's even worse for them, because we are our own bosses. We go all out to see that we survive, get our contents packaged and put on air. We pay for content, we get things together. No, but this is not happening. Look, government provided palliatives for the people. How much palliative did you get, even as a senior media practitioner in this state? How many did charity get? At least from the information at my disposal, there was not any such thing. Yes, I heard at some point that there were pockets of gifts here and there for a few people. Did it go around? The next thing we heard was, when we tried to push it, was that, oh, so you are not vulnerable. So the media, as far as this fight against COVID-19 is concerned, had gone further than some of us even anticipated. He said something. Nobody prepared for it. This was a war, or this is a war that nobody prepared for. But we got into it. We tried to put in our best. But in terms of protection, in terms of provision, in terms of giving us even the wherewithal to do the job, it's not there. In the Western world, as I conclude, there will be insurance. If I go out on assignment and I fall victim, and God forbid I pay the supreme price, I will be less assured that my family will not suffer over my demise. Is there any such thing here?
Mr. Abala, is the media vulnerable? If they are, at what level can we trace their vulnerability to their position?
Before I go into your question, I want to modify an impression he has expressed in the areas of palliatives. I agree. I've said it earlier that the media needs to be more empowered. I've said it. They need to be more equipped. But in the areas of palliatives are meant to cushion effects. More importantly for the less privileged. It's different from gifts. It's different from equipment. It's different. So the area where he said the media is really not giving palliatives, I will really not agree that palliatives are the issues we are talking about now for the media, because even some of us here need to give people palliatives, the less privileged, even himself, the underprivileged, and those. The palliatives is to keep the body and soul going during the law further because of the war they are facing, since people cannot engage in their normal economic activity. Having said that, the media is equally vulnerable because in the areas of our assignments, or the assignments of the media, definitely you are exposed to particularly the issue of isolation center and the likes he's talking about. I agree that the ground is not leveled enough for such assignment to be carried out by the media. The insurance policy is not there. The whatever encouragement to push the individual into such act is really not there. So I will submit that we need to, I said it earlier, we need to equip the media more. Let the individual, the journalist, have assurance. The insurance policies, aside from everything given to the medical people, should be extended to the media, because you want them to cover so many events where those tested positive are available. They have families, like he has said. They have everything the medical people has to attract the kind of allowances, insurance programs, and the likes they have been exposed to. So the media is vulnerable, and we need to give assurance to remove fears and empower them. Having said this, the other area I would want us to really improve upon is actually the determination of our side. This is a war. Even where we don't even go into isolation centers and the likes, we are at risk. Everybody's at risk. So all of us must take responsibility, even as journalists. All of us must take responsibility. We are all stakeholders. And that is my own message this morning, that everybody should be enlisted into the gospel according to say no to COVID-19. And if we all take this responsibility, we see it first as an assignment. We owe the nation as an assignment. We owe ourselves to survive. Thank you.
All right, just before, quickly, let me make a list of clarification. Palliative is an English word.
Yeah, sure.
We're basically talking about providing things to cushion the effect of COVID-19. Unfortunately, because in Nigeria, we have reduced it to 2 cups of rice, 2 cups of Congo, 2 Congos of Gari, and that's what will be given out as palliatives. That has actually made it appear like when you talk about palliatives, you are talking about like a cup of rice, you're talking about a cup of beans and all of that. No, it's beyond that. Palliative in the context that I'm looking at, in the context that I understand it to be, is about providing everything needed to cushion the effects of COVID-19. And when I talk about palliative within the context of the media, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of us had to give out at the heat of it. Some of us bought some of these things and gave those that we felt are not as privileged as we are. Do you get? But when you talk about palliative for a station like OGTV, let me keep using OGTV as an example. OGTV as a station needs palliative. In what context? In the context of providing resources to make up for the shortfall in the income of the station. It is within the capacity of the state to do that. If you're talking about Desmond Nwachukwu as a media practitioner, I need certain basic things because we know that the COVID-19 challenge has affected practically everything. And so we're now talking about those things that we are losing, how to make up for it. That's exactly the context I'm coming from when you talk about palliative. I am not looking at palliative within the context of, oh, the rise.
And what I'm saying is this. You cannot look at palliatives only within the context of the dictionary meaning, the English meaning of it. The government of each state defines the palliatives they are giving out within their own context. The peculiarities are clearly defined. And the English, you just said it much earlier, that we don't have to apply the strategies of the Western world to Nigerian context. We have to, the issue of stigmatization, I agree with you clearly. We have to define our own context within which we operate.
I agree with you, absolutely.
And the government clearly defined the palliatives within the context of the less privileged and the likes. Even what you are saying, organization has to be supported is a different thing. It has to, I agree with you that organizations in the face of COVID-19 have to be supported. That is a different thing from the context within the government defines.
No, you see, Director, that is where we're getting it wrong. You see, it is the media, it is the responsibility of the media to ensure that people are adequately advised. I tell people that when my clients come to me, when my clients engage me, it is my responsibility as the professional to tell the government that, oh, this is how it should go. Now, if government is viewing palliative only within the context that you have just talked about, within the context of the market woman, within the context of, what is it called? No, it is our responsibility to tell government.
Because there was a
just a moment. I allowed you to make your point. So hold on a moment. It is our responsibility as media practitioners to let people understand. I think we should actually shy away from this, my primary school understanding of, you see, when we're in primary school, I said it a few times, when people are coming, when inspectors are coming to our school, we'll be made to line the stones, get to paint it white, so they come and they feel that, oh, all is well, while all is not well. I think it is our responsibility to tell government that, look, government, you sit down, you look at your the various sectors, and you just hold on.
COVID-19 or not COVID-19.
Director, let me make my point. Let me make my point, Director. Let me make my point. No, I need to make my point. Just a moment. Let me drive home my point.
Charity will come up. Don't worry. Charity will come up as well. Let me just summarize this. I think both Mr. Shola Babalola and Mr. Nwachukwu, you are entitled to your points of view. And of course, your point of view clearly is based on the viewpoint where you are standing. And I think talking about palliatives, you are not too different, only that you are looking at it from different angles. And it's allowed. It's a democracy. So just let's leave that. And of course, I know that from what Mr. Babalola has said and from what you have said, the stakeholders who are also involved in this with us will have gotten the message clearly. So we don't need to actually drag that too much. So Charity, what's your question?
Mr. Babalola, let's go to orientation proper now. Okay. That is your field, and that is what you've been doing over the years. In this health crisis period that we have right now, how well is the organization doing this job of orientating the people and letting the people know that health issues have to be taken seriously, looking at COVID-19 and how it spreads in the society?
And let me start by saying that the health challenge we are having particularly did not meet us unaware. Because even before now, years before now, we have been working with UNICEF and other international organizations on these household behavioral practices, hand washing, hygienic environment, staying safe, adopting appropriate hygienic practices in your house and the likes. So we have been on this, and we have been working with communities. The strength of NOA, majorly, is the grassroots structure. We remain the largest federal government structured organization. We exist in all the local government areas. So we have been doing this. Now, even before Ogun State, before we recorded that one case we recorded, the first case we recorded the other time, we had planned our strategies, enlightenment strategies and the likes. We've been embarking on this. Now to your question, how well? I will refer to what I said earlier, that the issue of orientation, the same with the media, the issue of creating awareness, the issue of enlightenment, the issue of mobilization is not adjudged to be enough or to be conclusive until that social vice is terminated. And so in as much as we still have this fight still ongoing, we still have a lot to do in NOA. But having said this, on daily basis, our officers are going through the nooks and crannies of the state, enlightening people. Motorized campaign, in fact, as I'm talking, it's going on in Adodota, because Adodota is one of the, it has been narrowed to 11 now, from 20 to 11 by NCDC, one of the 11 most hit LGAs in the country. And so we are really intensifying our campaign, using motorized campaign, using house-to-house campaign, using the media too, jingles, using all manners of strategies. We have the White Brigade volunteers, we have the community volunteers, but the issue is that the issue of orientation, we need the support of all stakeholders, not only government, all stakeholders. Massive cost is involved, and as such, I wouldn't say that we have reached the level that we are okay for the assignment, but the truth is that we are using this media. I want to sincerely thank the media stations. You have done wonderfully for NOA, but we are calling on this support to be increased by all stakeholders, private organizations, because the state at which we are now is community transmission. And as such, all hands must be on deck. We are even set to embark on advocacy visits to solicit the support. And like I said, the stage we are is enlisting all stakeholders into the crusade, into the gospel of saying no to COVID-19. And as such, we are moving to the corridors of the traditional rulers, we are moving to the corridors of religious leaders, we are moving to market women, all stakeholders. We want to advocate that these organizations helps pass the message to our people to take responsibility.
Okay, before you go ahead, I want to ask this. How well grounded are your officers? We know that when you want to talk to people, you must know what you want to tell them yourself. How well, or they are working in connection with
we have embarked on series of trainings even before the moment we had that one case recorded. WHO people with the RISCOM committee, okay, sponsored by the Ogun State government, came to us, trained all our field officers, okay, including our management members. Aside from that, we have had series of virtual trainings with the National RISCOM committee and of course the NCDC. Just last week, at the directors level, we had interface with the NCDC directly. So we are equipped for the assignments, but the truth is that we need more of enlightenment materials. That is why we are calling on all stakeholders, government, private individuals, all organizations, because government alone cannot do the funding.
Charity, before you come, let me just add that you are not on hot seat, but thank God you are here with Mr. Wachuku. Yes, definitely we can't take it away. We can't mop things up. Even the federal government said the global pandemic caught everybody unawares. Yes. And of course, the federal government has also come out to say that it made us see clearly the solid state of our health institution, and know that everybody just trying to grow up and do things. And now, Mr. Shabula, your work is as important as that of the media. That is the National Orientation Agency. But how well equipped are you? I'm asking those questions because most of the things you say you are doing, fine. You can be doing it. I'm not too sure that you bring a jingle to OGTV, for example, and anybody will say you pay. But where are the jingles? Sponsored by NOA, for example. I said, this jingle about this, for example, we know that despite the fact that the government is saying we should continually wear face masks, we know the situation in the society, and we know that what NOA can do in the true spirit of NOA. But are you handicapped? How handicapped are you?
Now, let me start by saying the jingles, we have enough jingles. Before I go and give you the jingles, we carry motorized vehicles, we play our jingles. In terms of how equipped we are, I have answered this question. There's no equipment that will be enough in a state of war. We just have to get as many as we have. If you have things to give us, we are ready to receive.
Okay, Charity?
Mr. Mwachuka, I wanted to ask about community spread of this COVID-19 and how media is helping to cushion, let me not use cushion, how media is helping to educate the people about it. Do you think the media should go to those rural areas to educate them and become the teacher and tell them what they should know about COVID-19, or it is enough for them, for people to hear on the on radios, on television, about how to go about it?
Well, fantastic question. I would start by telling you that about a month ago, I gave a directive to the various chapters of our association across the country to take the campaign, the awareness campaign against COVID-19 beyond the radio and television. As we speak now, the question is, what's the percentage of the grassroots people that will be seeing what we're seeing us now? Basically, the people that will be viewing this program right now will be the elites who are perhaps in their offices, or some of them still at home and all of that. And these people already have reasonable quantum of information as regards COVID-19. But those are the grassroots, the market women, the farmers and all of that. Not quite a number of them will have this opportunity. So I gave that directive that they should take it beyond there, hit the road, then talk to people, speak their language. One good thing about my members is that we provide content in different languages. Here, you see that the majority of those who will form our membership will be those providing content in Yoruba. You go to up north, majority of them are Hausas, and same for Igbo and all of that. So the level we have to go right now is the way it used to be. When I was growing up in Ibadan, I know that the National Orientation Agency, when there's issues like this, indeed, like the director said, will mount their vehicles, have public address system, moving around, talking to people, and all of that. Now, I gave that directive. A reasonable number of chapters carried it out. But like the question you asked earlier, though you asked the director, but let me bring that into end too. And when I talk about, that's again part of what I said, you need, when we're talking about palliative area earlier, when you need people, you need certain things to do the job. But for the fact that I am on a state-owned station, I would have mentioned some names, but I'm just going to waive that. These people had difficulties. My members here had difficulties. Now, what are the basic requirements? But what are the basic things that we asked for? Provide them with vehicles Let them mount there. They have a name, they have the image, they have that personality. I can mention a number of my members who will hit Kuto Market now, and people want to hear what they want to say. We have our own unique way of calling attention, but there are difficulties. So if you ask me the question you asked him, whether we are handicapped, I will say we are handicapped. And we need, and it is never too late. Because
before you go far, I was going to ask you this, and it is relevant.
Go ahead.
That do you think government, at whatever level, is making use enough of this opportunity of having NUJ,
yes,
FIBAN, RATAU, and all these associations attached, known with media, to actually fight this enough? If not, what should they do?
The answer is no. Emphatically no. The government is not doing that enough. They're not taking enough advantage of the opportunities and the facilities at their disposal. I just gave an instance. And the chairman of the chapter here is a guy who's close to me. And like when I give the directive, I'm somebody who wants to follow it up and ensure that it's carried out. They spoke with the right people, the strategic people in government who are supposed to just provide this little thing, vehicle and fuel it, public address system. Let them just go out on the street and start talking to people. They didn't do it. And you ask me if they are taking advantage of it. They are not. We would have gone ahead to do this, but we do not have the facility. We are handicapped. NUJ, to what extent is the government taking advantage of our colleagues in the print? I just said this now. You know what most of them, what we experienced most during the heat of this COVID-19 was giving stuffs to some of my members on radio. And when you call in, they say, where are you calling from? Okay, come and take this.
I'll give you a account number.
And that kind of thing. That was basically what they did. But I expected government to take it beyond that level. I expected government to say, okay, come. You guys, you have a name, you have the image, come, hit the road. Do it the usual way that I grew up getting to know. That when there is situations like this, serious sensitization will go on. How many people in the grassroots understand what is called community transmission? How many of them even know? Look, at some point they said we must wear face masks. NCDC gave specification as to the one that it feels will serve that purpose. What do we see today? All manner of face masks. This one that I wore when I came in was sent to me by one of our chapters. Well, I felt, okay, it's branded FIBAN. Yes, I can go about with it, promoting FIBAN.
But it's better than no...
Like the director is promoting NOA.
It's better than not wearing at all.
I agree. But the question is this. How many people understand the reason they are asked to wear this? We talk about social distancing. Go to Kuto Market.
Some even put it as jaw mask.
Go to Kuto Market. Do they understand? Government is saying, maintain social distancing. Do they even understand why they are asked to maintain social distancing? We are on here. They are there at the market. We are talking. How would they get to know what we're saying here? The only way they can actually get to understand is when we take the campaign, the enlightenment to them there. Speak their language. It's not happening. So to answer again your question as to whether the government is taking full advantage of the facilities, opportunities, resources at its disposal, especially within the media setup, I will say emphatically no. But, however, it is still not over. The fight is not over yet. So there's still enough time to do this. I will hope, for instance, that the government will call the leadership of NUJ in the state, call the leadership of RATAU, call the leadership of FIBAN, call the leadership of strategic media organizations in the state, sit down with them, engage them in a talk. This thing doesn't cost much. Engage them in a talk and say, look, how do we go about this? We need to make this awareness more solid.
To stop the community spread.
To stop the community spread and to allow those, especially at the grassroots, to further understand what we're talking about.
Mr. Bola, you want to react to some of you? I mean,
yes,
you were eager to.
I was just trying to add that while admitting that we have to step up enlightenment, awareness creation, and the likes. In doing that, I would want the media to lay emphasis on, let the messages be targeted towards more on disobedience to the protocols. You have just mentioned some of these things. We have a reasonable level of understanding of why they have to wear this, why they, yes. Even the elites, people like us that knows that there is COVID-19, that knows that we must wear face masks, we must distance ourselves from people that cough, they still find it difficult to obey these protocols. So what I was trying to say is that emphasis should be on, is a behavioral, attitudinal problem, orientation problem that we have in Nigeria. It is endemic in our society that people still believe that COVID-19, they still told me yesterday, is for the elite, it's for people like you, it has no class barrier. That's the truth. So why we want people to understand that the thing exists, most people knows now that it exists, but they find it difficult to obey social distancing. Go to Ifo and Ota. That's my area.
Yeah, that's true.
They hold parties.
That's true.
Even against the law, that they must not hold parties. So that is why we are preaching now in NOA that the state we are, because it is community transmission, we should take individual responsibility.
That should be your passing shot, Mr. Bola. And Iwachuku, your passing shot?
Well, COVID-19 is real, and we must all take responsibility. We should not rely on government alone now. We should try and make sure that, and we realize that our life is ours, and we're not living for government, we're living for ourselves, for our people. And then more importantly, that we should comply with the precautionary, measures, wear your face masks, wash your hand often, maintain social distancing, and the rest. I will say that with that, but I am very optimistic that soon it will be all over for good.
On that note, I want to thank you very much, the Director of the National Orientation Agency in Ogun State, Mr. Shola Babalola. You're always here. You don't ever say no when we call you. And of course, the National President of Freelance and Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria, FIBAN, Mr. Desmond. You will be surprised at Biodo Nwachuku. I want to thank you very much for coming to the program.
So on that note, we'll end this program and we'll tell our people to be responsible for your life, be responsible for the society, be responsible for Nigeria. We'll see you next Wednesday.